Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Business and it's time for a review. The Tier 5 Premium Battleship, the Caesar. And this is a skin by Tans, which unfortunately they modify the camo XML file, so unless you actually run the... Well, I don't even know if you can do no camo mods anymore, but they completely changed that file, and now I can't make the premium skins, the camos. I can't make those transparent anymore, so now we're stuck with a beautiful skin by him being overlaid by this sad blue premium camo crap. So permanent camo, I should say. But it does look really good in the Hunter. Of course, every ship does. And then, of course, we've got all these crazy ass frosty fir tree camos too, which I gotta admit it's pretty nice as far as getting some additional XP and the Captain XP is concerned. So taking a look at the armor here and the hit points. Yeah, this is on the low side. It's not quite as bad as the Congo, but the maximum armor is going to be on the face of the turrets there, as you can see there where there's a bit more red. The deck has an interesting mix of 43mm armor on the deck, where you see in the green on the top there, but take a look at how terrible that armor is on the top of the turrets. That's pretty bad. So you're very likely to, when you're fighting another battleship or you're fighting another Caesar, to disable these turrets. And the Caesar does have a very interesting citadel. It's extremely easy to hit from the side, but frontally it's very narrow, which is a really good thing because, again, you're going to get into tier 7 matches. You will be facing off against the 16-inch guns of the Colorado, the 410mm guns of the Nagato, so on and so forth, and of course the Nelson with the 16-inch guns as well. That one proves to be pretty damn dangerous just because of the grouping of all those shells with all three turrets up front, so you got to be real careful engaging that one. We're just taking a look at the other armor profiles here for the tier 5 battleships. They really vary quite a bit. The Congo is, you guys are going to laugh at that one, but the Koenig has a really nice armor scheme here. Very thick armor right at the waterline. Obviously helps protect that lowered citadel there, but these things are extremely hard to damage in terms of the big damage numbers, but you aim right at the secondaries on most of these types of ships and you're going to do a hell of a lot of damage. You'll see that in some of these clips coming up. And then you have ships like the New York and the Texas, which frankly are extremely easy to citadel, and the Caesar can do it frontally, so it may only have 320mm guns, but it can blast right through the nose of these ships and yeah, do some serious stuff. And again, you'll see that eventually. But and then look at the Congo. This is so sad. Like, the Congo had 76mm on the turret tops. That's bad. And take away the side there and look at this. It's just like, yeah, this is a powerful ship, but that 203mm side armor for a ship like this, that's bad. But at the same time, there is a serious threat here that the Congo can unload upon something like the Caesar, because it does have the largest caliber guns along with the Texas and New York at this tier with 356mm shells. So that's pretty interesting. But take a look at this, and really what I want you to take a look at is the ratio of the overpens to the penetrations. And then take a look at the bottom left. You'll see I have 59,720 damage with 27 shell pens, 8 overpens. I've got a citadel on that match as well. That is nowhere near what actually happened. Half of these shells will, for shell pens, do no damage or half damage. It happens a lot, and these guns are fantastic, and I'll get to that in a moment. They have fantastic shell pen, as you can see, out to 15 kilometers, matches the caliber of the gun, but 9700 AP max damage, 4800 on the HE, and also we have 35% fire chance with a 16.4 kilometer range. And bye-bye, Murmansk. You're going to see a lot of these. So I guess I'll have to explain about the guns as I go. But as you saw, my captain has 1.1 million XP at the time of this video here. And for the captain skills, I run a very interesting mix, in my opinion, for a battleship, because I very rarely run concealment expert, but concealment expert with vigilance and We have some other options there as well for basics of survivability, adrenaline rush, that sort of thing, and preventive maintenance, which is really important. But the secondaries suck. They're not really worth mentioning. You can get them up to this is about almost 6 kilometers, but it's a mixture of AP and HE, and I haven't really been overwhelmed with their effectiveness, let's put it that way. But taking a look at this shot here, and again with the previous salvo, aiming higher into the secondaries of a ship like the Koenig, especially where that armor is weaker at the secondary belt. That's a huge way to be able to do some big damage there, and a nice 30,000 damage salvo against the Congo, who was just sitting there doing dick all, and a full deletion of that poor Omaha. It's easy to make this look like it's more effective than it actually is, and don't get me wrong, it is a powerful ship, but not for the reasons that people think. If you watch the live stream where I'm playing this, you will see time after time after time I'm just getting overpens or brackets. It's like casting a net, basically, with the shells. Now, it does have really good speed for this tier, second place. With the speed flag, you can get up to 28.4. The maneuverability is, if I'm not mistaken, the rudder shift is third of the tier 5 ships for the battleships, and it has the best detection by air, but it's actually tied with the October Revolution for best detection by sea, so 11.4 kilometers. The turning radius is on the low end. It's actually 5th place out of the whole group of tier 5 battleships, which is kind of surprising, given the fact that it's so short. It's a stocky little guy, but the broadside weight of this ship is at 97,000 on the AP and 48,000 on the HE. That puts it middle of the road, surprisingly enough. The big thing about it, of course, is the dispersion, and that is the thing that people keep harkening back to. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely a few salvos, typically 1 to 2 salvos a match, where it's god tier dispersion. Like, you'd have to be in Iowa or Montana to be able to match the quality of this. And I was slowing down here, trying to give myself some time to get another shot off here, trying to make sure that I could squeeze this off before I rammed that guy, because I was afraid he was gonna nuke the shit out of me with his big 380mm shells. But yay, made the sacrifice there for the double strike. But the AA also, I just want to point this out, is really bad. You have your main damage is tied up in your mid-range guns. Now you can get that up to 5.1 kilometers and 84 DPS, or 81 DPS. That's not good enough, frankly. The most planes I've shot down has been 16, but that was a double Langley, and this was before, I think this was actually before the carrier buff, so, or the USN carrier buff, and I haven't been able to get much more than that since. Or actually, I haven't even been able to get more than like 8 or 10 planes since that particular patch. But it does up tier well. I have supreme confidence in this ship when I'm playing in a tier 7 match, with the exception of double carrier games. So, against a good carrier captain, this ship is just a sitting duck. And I know a lot of the complaints that people have about this is that it's too strong for tier 5, blah blah blah. It should be a tier 6 ship. Tier 6 would give it access to a rudder shift, which would bring its 13.4 second rudder shift down to 10.7. So I don't know. I don't think that's a good idea at all. But yeah, nice meaty hit on the Scharnhorst. I've had a few of those against the Scharnhorst and the well, obviously Nagatos and Gneisenau's. Doesn't fare all that well against the Colorado, though. I mean, I've had some big hits against Colorados, but it takes them in return, and usually actually quite a bit more severely, because it just gets overmatched like crazy, and the Colorado is just so accurate. But against the Nagato, I really enjoy it. I mean, we already saw 130,000 damage salvo against the Nagato, and we saw 30,000 damage salvo against the Congo. Aiming this ship, and I am swinging way too wide here. I've already realized my mistake, and I'm just trying to make sure that if I can get the salvo off, and luckily I'm able to, I'm doing something like that. And damn, does it feel good to knock these tier 7 battleships out of the water with this ship if you can get close. And of course, it's not just about the citadels and whatnot. If you can get all of your guns ready to go on these enemies and they're pulling in, look at that. That's pretty damn good. I will definitely take a 24k damage salvo against a British battleship any day of the week. And don't get me wrong, sometimes, and this match especially, things can be pretty ridiculous. Now, I've had more than my fair share of matches where I've been one of, 2 or 3 or even the only battleship on my team. And it's been nothing but cruisers on the enemy team. And there was one match where I was killing everything via overpens. And just salvo after salvo against an Aoba, Furutaka, or Miyoko, and all these other ships. I could do nothing but overpen. And I think I actually had 17 overpens on one of these. I think it was Aoba, actually. This is not that type of match. Let's just say, 60,000 damage pretty much right off the bat. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive, right? And this Königsberg would prove to be a little bit more of a challenge in terms of trying to just get the damn shells on them, but I obviously didn't lead that enough. I wasn't anticipating his acceleration there, but they've got some Pensacolas, and the main thing that I was happy about was that we took out the Fiji, which could facilitate more of their cruisers like posting up in that smoke or just behind that smoke and using that to anchor their position and to move forward back into sea, or at least do it a little bit more effectively. So quite a while is going to pass here. It's about 4 minutes between the last clip and this current one, and sure enough, they're pushing in hard body karate style, and I'm actually pretty proud of this because I like seeing that. I like seeing teams with some serious balls, and that would have been great if I skipped my shells through the Königsberg and deleted him on my way to hitting the Pensacola. I was kind of hoping for that after I fired, but whatever. Either way, there are scenarios with the Caesar that it's going to let you down, and I have lost matches because all I've been able to do is overpen enemy targets, and there's a good example. That most likely, if I shot that again, would have been Citadel, and I mean, it was probably just a bit too far forward, but regardless, it's a very consistent issue with this ship, and I think people who are getting it right now need to temper their expectations, because it's not always it's an easy ship to kind of get into because it plays like a cruiser, but it's a hard ship to rely upon because it's still a battleship. And that's the thing about these types of ships, and why they're also so much damn fun to play. I mean, I mentioned this, I think I mentioned this before, but the Scharnhorst and the Hindenburg are my 3 favorite ships. And the reason for it is because they don't play like cruisers, but they don't play like battleships either. They play like both at the same time, and it's the most interesting way, I think, this game can be played. But also there's an inherent problem there, because it has too many advantages without too many disadvantages. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think this is a very, very powerful ship, but I also don't think it's as powerful as people try to make it out to be. And part of the reason is because as much as it plays like a cruiser at times, and honestly, that concealment is killer. It is really, really powerful. For a ship like this, is one of the very few ships that I have run concealment expert on, but as far as battleships are concerned, because this is a ship that really can't take a beating. It can in some senses, where there's a strip of armor right underneath the front turrets, and if you're angled, that whole part there is a shatter or bounce zone. It's just crazy effective, and unless they hit the 19mm section of the front bow and they can overmatch it, you're probably going to be able to mitigate a ton of damage by being at the right angle there. And of course, luck has a massive part to do with it. I mean, the enemy can aim perfectly, but if their shells disperse into a pattern that roll right onto that 110 millimeter strip of armor, and check that out, 47% accuracy, that's batshit crazy. But as far as the gun handling characteristics are concerned and how you can use that to your advantage, as you saw earlier, there is at 15 kilometers, it has 320 millimeters of shell pen. So anything below that, and you're just ramping it up. At mid-range and long range, this ship really does excel. The longer range it goes, it seems like the Sigma does an even better job of bringing the shells together. I've noticed that more often on the long range shots than the mid range shots, that's where I get my best dispersion by far. And you'll see a particular shot in this one, and I'll call it out when it happens. That's really excellent for at least most of the shells. But I think that this ship reminds me the most, surprisingly enough, of the North Carolina. Now, the shell speed on this is significantly better at 830 meters a second, at least initially, and don't ask me why the hell their carrier's running in like this, especially with the Type 59 camo, whatever the hell. But I think that there's a lot of similarities there, where when I fire with the NC and it rolls crap dispersion, sometimes it looks like it's casting a net, like the shells are going to be in front, they're going to be over top of it. I'm going to blast through the smokestack of a target, and that's it. I'm going to get some overpen damage. And as far as this replay is concerned, oh man, I really wish people would just stop this shit with going up the middle. I think it's such a waste of time. But at least we're able to make the most of it, as you'll see here in a second. But I think that the North Carolina is the most like the Caesar. So if you play the North Carolina, then go to the Caesar, and I've done this a few times, gone back and forth between them, you should do pretty well. Like, you almost don't have to adjust at all, except for the fact that obviously you're going to be dealing with a lot more range. 18,000 through the front, ooh, that's good. And I think it's kind of an interesting look at that ship, the Caesar, that is. With the similarities between this and the NC as far as the guns are concerned, as far as the shell characteristics and whatnot. But the ship does have, at short range, a tendency to skip shells across the water, which is really goddamn annoying. The amount of shells that you have hit, and this is even when you're aiming up into the secondary area on another battleship, a lot of times you'll just have 4, 5, 6, 7 shells just dump right into the water. And the ship that reminds me of that the most is the North Carolina, because I've had a horrible time with that ship sometimes. When dispersion just rolls poorly, that's nice. When dispersion rolls poorly, it does that to me as well. So that's just my experience. Of course, everybody's going to have their own experience, because battleships are completely and utterly reliant on dispersion, more than skill, more than experience, anything. Nothing changes dispersion. You can't account for it, of course. So I guess I should put that disclaimer in every single battleship video. But here's a shot, actually, that the dispersion is top notch, just really, really looking good. Nice, nice, nice. Blink. I'll take it. So we're pretty much rolling in this match, but I do think that the idea that this ship is overpowered, and granted, this is while I'm showing you my best damage match in this particular ship. The thing is, I'm not getting focused. I'm not putting myself in a position where I'm getting overwhelmed, although I'm going to put myself in a position that 9 times out of 10 would result in death. You'll see that in just a second. But I think that, people saying, oh, it's 4% higher than such and such ship in the win rate and does 10,000 more damage. No shit. It's because people are playing it and they're good at it, like right out off the bat. I mean, you have to understand something. If those same players who are doing well in this ship switch over to playing the New York is going to do better. You're getting more players who are interested in the ship to play that ship, and they want to do better, as opposed to, oh, I just have to go up through the tech tree on it, and you know, everybody who is good, bad, or in between can play it. But it doesn't. I think that the server stats are incredibly misleading, and I do not think the community should pay attention to them at all in terms of being able to judge whether or not a ship is worth it or overpowered or anything like that. I think it's bullshit, actually. And god, that was a good dispersion, but fucking overpens. Thankfully the KGV got taken out there, lucked out. But I really do think that that's a big problem that this community has to just kind of let it go, is, you know, this reliance on, you know, looking at this and that to see whether or not a ship is worth it. If you take a look at a stream and if you want to see what can be done, then tune into somebody, you know, whether it's YouTube or Twitch, and just see how they do, you know, especially on Twitch, because it's completely unedited, and you know, you get to see the good and the bad, and typically it's going to be mostly bad because of Battleship dispersion. That's how it goes, and you can't control everything, of course, and that's the hardest part about playing the Battleship, but also what makes it so rewarding when you do get matches like this where you're just connecting over and over and over again. And you know, it really goes to show that the positioning is the only thing that truly matters when it comes to playing the Battleship. You know, if you're able to put yourself in a spot where an enemy Fuso is going broadside on you and you're cutting back in as fast as possible, and see what I mean? A lot of shells hit the water there, and that was definitely not, all those shell pens were definitely not actually shell pen damage. So 2 or 3 of them did no damage at all. But, well, yeah, 2 of them I think. But, you know, here's another instance. The Fuso has 356mm shells, and it did a good job taking that damage, and now we gotta dump this salvo and cut back in as fast as possible, take out a turret and do a nice big salvo on him. We had all 10 shells hit, and that just wasn't low enough to be able to do what we needed to do, and we take a good amount of damage at the front, but we did not get citadeled. Through the front, it's extremely narrow, the citadel, and that's something that, I don't know, maybe you guys want to practice in the training room or that sort, but 172,000 damage, and surprisingly enough, under 2,000 base XP, but did a lot of work, and we had Kebabs with us, so yay. He just happens to drop with us, but 55%. I don't think anybody needs to be told that 55% is pretty damn phenomenal over the course of a full match, almost 200 shells fired. But yes, I love the ship. Yes, I love the way it plays. Yes, that's part of the problem, that I can recognize it, where it's a battleship that has cruiser attributes, but the battleship presence, and that's an important thing here. Is that too much? Because a battle cruiser, like, I mean, I liken this to the Scharnhorst and the Hindenburg, and the way that it plays. You know, it favors aggression, it favors really, really good positioning. I think that that's an actual design issue in this game, is if you blend those two too much together, you get something that can be deemed too powerful, or actually is too powerful. Ask that guy about that. But I look forward to your comments down below, and hope you're enjoying your Caesars out there and having happy holidays. I'll see you back here soon, everybody. Take care.